Hi everybody, it's Dr. Doug, and today we're going to do part 4 of our vitamin D series. But before we do that, let's talk about and do a recap of parts 1, 2, and 3. Part 1, we talked about how the sun hits the cholesterol in our skin, which gives the body the energy to synthesize vitamin D3. Part 2, we talked about that same process, but the importance of having a converter gene, an optimal converter gene, which is the CYP2R1 gene. And we talked about the suboptimal gene and what needed to be done. In part 3, we talked about that same process, but the second gene that's important in this process, which is the GC gene, which talks about once it's converted, now it has to be transported. And today we're going to talk about the VDR gene. This one is the binding gene. This is one of probably the most important parts of this whole process. So, we're going to go back when the sun or a fortified food is taken in, and we need the converter gene, the CYP2R1 gene, in order to convert the sun's rays or fortified foods to vitamin D3, which is done in the kidney and the liver. Once it's converted, it then has to be transported by the GC gene. And remember, we talked about if you had a big bus or a short bus, what you needed to do in that process. Shorter amounts of or smaller amounts of vitamin D3 with K2 and doing it over a couple times during the day versus one big supplement. Well, the third one is the VDR gene, and this is the binding gene. So it's converted, it's transported, and now it gets bound to the receptors on the cell. Well, if we have a suboptimal VDR gene, only some of it will bind and the rest will be lost because there's not enough or the inability to bind to the receptors on the cell. So, this whole process has to end up getting to the cell and making the D3 available inside the cell so that it can finally do what it's supposed to do, and that is to do work. Vitamin D3 is needed for multiple different processes in the body. So, what we're going to do next video is we're going to talk about strategies. What happens if this one isn't working well? Or maybe you got two of them that aren't working well. Or the whole chain, the whole process doesn't work for you. Does it mean that, well, you're out of luck? Well, not necessarily. It just means that there's certain strategies that need to be taken place in order to optimize your ability to get the sun's rays or your food and get it converted, transported, and then bound to these receptors. Some of you may say, well, my vitamin D level inside my blood is, I got a really high. I just talked to a lady the other day. Her friend had 125 vitamin D3 level inside the blood, in the blood, from a blood test. Well, optimal is somewhere between 50 to 90. So she had a lot. Well, to me, that means either one, she's taken way too much vitamin D3, or she's not able to convert it. It's just floating around and it's not doing any good because it's not here in the cell. So in the next video, we'll take some strategies and talk about, well, what is the possibility if all this, if it's all working well, why do I still not feel well? So please share this. You can also go to our website, proa.co. You can either scroll all the way down to the bottom, or if you click the Services tab and click down to the nutritional store. There you can create a short login, and you'll have access to my dispensary. And in there should be two protocols. One of them is for COVID, and the other one is for vitamin D3 and K2. And there are my options that I think are the best for you to do. You don't need all of them. You just need to find the one that works well for you. And so until the next video, remember, align your spine, realign your life. We'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.